The conflict between Russia and Ukraine has entered its third year, with no signs of slowing down. From developments on the ground to diplomatic maneuvers, from economic sanctions to global repercussions, this war continues to reshape the world. In this video, we'll take a closer look at the latest updates and deeper dynamics behind the conflict. You're watching Hotspot Update, where news is delivered quickly, clearly, and reliably every day.
Amid concerns that Kyiv may be sidelined in future peace negotiations, Ukrainian recruits also express little hope that the meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin could lead to lasting peace for the over 3-year-long war between Russia and Ukraine.
I know there will be talks again. Let's hope the result will be in our favor and all soldiers will be demobilized. I want to believe that there will be a full ceasefire and peace, but we understand our relationship with Russia will not be as it was before, because what they did was very wrong. We hope that it will be over, somehow. All wars end with talks, but given what is going on now, it is an open question how quick the end will come.
It will likely be a political decision. It is unlikely that we will kick them out or they will conquer us, because the front line is stalled and it does not move. Any movement of the front line comes with big losses from the Russian side. It will only be political talks and politicians will solve it.
The war lasts not for 3 years, but for 11 years. And we should not forget about it. Our people have been fighting for 11 years. The enemy likes to say that they can repeat it all over again. We do not want the repetition for another 11 years. We want it to be over. Whether we have a chance, there is always a chance, I think.
A White House official stated that President Trump is open to having President Zelensky attend, but preparations are currently focused on a bilateral meeting with President Putin. President Zelensky has also expressed gratitude to European leaders for supporting his request for a seat at the negotiating table. He emphasized that any decision made without Ukraine's participation would be meaningless and unenforceable. Meanwhile, local residents in Anchorage, Alaska, are preparing for the upcoming summit between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin aimed at ending the war in Ukraine. They describe it as a historic event and hope that Alaska will shine as the host of this meeting between the two leaders.
I think it's an interesting meeting, although it seems kind of like it's none of our business. I think that Trump continuing to be involved and to back the Ukrainians seems counter to his stated goals of being America first.
But having a world leader with such a high body count is unsettling, and I feel that would be the way for any civilian. But especially having a Russian leader, considering Alaska's history with Russia, is uniquely interesting in that it has caused so many conspiracy theories to run around, especially with President Trump's vague land swap things. The wildest one is that we're being given to Russia in order to end the war in Ukraine.
Well, I think it's really a fascinating opportunity for Alaska to shine in what we can do for those kind of venues. I think it's a safe venue for both the leaders to come here. We have a huge Air Force base and Army base next to Anchorage, and so I think that it's going to be a safe location for them. I think it'll also be very exciting for Alaska and for the city of Anchorage to be a part of something like that. I think it's fairly historic.
I think it's an opportunity for us to demonstrate against Trump when he's here We spend a lot of time far away trying to send messages to our congressmen, senators, saying all of the things that we really find to be reprehensible about this administration. And we'll be here demonstrating when he's here. Well, Russian explorers had a very bad reputation here, and I don't think this is going to make it any better.
On Monday, August 11, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky stated that there are no signs indicating Russia is preparing to end hostilities in Ukraine. President Zelensky also mentioned that he had phone calls with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney.
Today, there was also a report from the Intelligence and Military Command on what Putin is counting on and what he is actually preparing for, including military preparations. He is definitely not preparing for a ceasefire or an end to the war. Putin is determined only to present a meeting with America as his personal victory and then continue acting exactly as before, applying the same pressure on Ukraine as before. So far, there is no indication whatsoever that the Russians have received signals to prepare for a post-war situation. On the contrary, they are moving their troops and forces in such a way as to launch new offensive operations. If someone is preparing for peace, this is not what he does. We continue to keep our partners informed about the real situation on the battlefield, in diplomacy, and in Russia's planning of further actions. Today, Indian Prime Minister Modi and I discussed in great detail the possibilities for influencing Russia's position. I remember how the Prime Minister of India has said more than once that our time is not a time for war, and real steps are needed to make this a reality. Peace is needed. Tomorrow will also be a day of our active communication with partners. At all levels, we continue to engage with the United States of America.
On August 11, U.S. President Donald Trump held a press conference to discuss the upcoming summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin, scheduled to take place in Alaska on Friday, August 15th. Although Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will not attend, President Trump stated that he would immediately share details of his conversation with President Putin with the Ukrainian leader. Trump also said he would pressure Putin to agree to a ceasefire.
President, you mentioned your upcoming meeting with President Putin. Can you tell us what you hope to get out of that and whether you'll consider inviting President Zelensky to join?
So you have to understand, this is a war that should have never happened. This is a war that wouldn't have happened if I were president. It would have never happened. It was the apple of his eye. I got along very well with President Putin. So this is really a feel-out meeting a little bit. And President Putin invited me to get involved. He wants to get involved. I believe he wants to get it over with. Now, I've said that a few times, and I've been disappointed because I'd have like a great call with him, and then missiles would be lobbed into Kiev or some other place, and you'd have 60 people laying on a road dying. The money that's been spent and the death is incredible. It's the worst thing that's happened, by far the worst that's happened since World War II. So I'm going in to speak to Vladimir Putin, and I'm going to be telling him, you got to end this war, you got to end it. And he wasn't going to mess with me. This war would have never happened. You know, we had a discussion about it one time, and we never had that discussion again. Would have never happened. So I'm going to go and see the parameters. Now, I may leave and say, good luck. And that'll be the end. I may say this is not going to be settled. I mean, there are those that believe that Putin wanted all of Ukraine. I happen to be one of them, by the way. I think if it weren't for me, he would not be even talking to anybody else right now. But I'm going to meet with him. We're going to see what the parameters are. I'm then going to call up President Zelensky and the European leaders. Right after the meeting, yeah. And I'm going to tell him what kind of a deal. I'm not going to make a deal. It's not up to me to make a deal. I'm going to meet with President Putin, and we're going to see what he has in mind. And if it's a fair deal, I'll reveal it to the European Union leaders and to the NATO leaders, and also to President Zelensky. I think out of respect, I'll call him first. and then I'll call them after. And I may say, lots of luck, keep fighting, or I may say we can make a deal. Well, we're going to have a meeting with Vladimir Putin, and at the end of that meeting, probably in the first 2 minutes, I'll know exactly whether or not a deal can be made. How will you know that? Because that's what I do. I make deals. I expect to have a meeting with Putin that I think it'll be good, but it might be bad. And I'm here for one reason, to get rid of a war that somebody else started. Should have never happened. And if I could end it, great. Complex war, a lot of bad blood, But Zelensky's been there for 3.5 years, so if you put him in a room, now I will say this, ultimately I'm going to put the two of them in a room. I'll be there or won't be there, and I think it'll get solved.
These are the latest updates we wanted to share with you. Thank you for watching Hotspot Update. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss our upcoming analysis.